Have you ever felt like, as an investor, you're often late to the party? For example, recently, all over the news, people were excited about AI, and maybe there was even an AI company you wish to invest in. But by the time many people finally bought in and you joined them, instead of watching those prices just race higher, it started sinking. If that's ever happened to you, I know exactly how that feels because I used to do the exact same thing. I used to think that maybe those successful investors, they just knew something I didn't. They were early. And how do I get that way? But I'm not a bigwig. However, over time, I realized something that started making my investing more powerful. It was a boost. And I found out that, some investors, they're able to discover valuable opportunities before it seems like anybody else does. So, how do they do that? Because they aren't asking the same questions as everybody else. And they're not exactly doing the same things either. So, once I found out what the question is and what they're actually doing, once I finally understood that, it completely changed how I started looking at investing. So what questions are they asking? That's what we're going to explore next in this video. Hi, I'm Kathy, and welcome to my channel where we talk about faith, family, and finances to create a life in abundance. By the end of this video, you'll understand why many thoughtful investors are taking another look at Bitcoin, not because it's the newest investment, but because it may represent something many people have overlooked. And of course, none of this is financial advice. This is just simply my opinion and how I started thinking about investing. So before we jump in, I'd love to hear from you. What investment has your attention right now? Is it AI, gold, oil, or something else? I would love if you put it in the chat and leave me a comment because I'm always curious what other investors are paying attention to. So now let me share with you one habit I've noticed many value-conscious investors have in common. While most people are asking things like, well, what's everybody else buying? The value-conscious investor is asking a completely different question. They ask things like, well, what's becoming more valuable right now? And often it is in the place where no one else is looking. People often call this contrarian investing. So contrarian investing doesn't mean just buy something simply because it's unpopular and untimely. It means you're asking whether all the attention maybe has caused the price to get out of balance with other things. In a way, you're looking at something that has been valuable. And when it was popular, maybe there was more speculation. And so the price rose and you want to get in at a better price. So you might decide to wait until there's less speculation in it. Maybe it's not as popular at that moment, but it's still valuable. As long as the value's there, as the price comes down, it makes that asset, that investment, look even more attractive. And once you start looking through that lens, you begin noticing opportunities that other people aren't even looking at because a lot of people follow hype and popularity. So now, could Bitcoin be one of those opportunities right now? Let's look at it together. So a few years ago, it felt like everyone was talking about Bitcoin. It was the new kid on the block. Nowadays, though, attention has shifted. AI became the exciting news story, and some people assumed Bitcoin would just quietly fade away. But something interesting happened. Bitcoin didn't disappear, and now it's been around for more than 16 years. Development has continued, and amazingly, there's even more adoption in these last few years because companies started adding Bitcoin to their balance sheets. Institutions are continuing to invest. Even governments are exploring things like a strategic Bitcoin reserve. So the attention, that moved on to other things, but Bitcoin didn't disappear, and the signal might be that even though it's not popular right now, it's not in the news, there's still accumulation from even big players. So that might lead you to another question, and that being, namely, well, why are companies and institutions still adopting Bitcoin if it's not even popular? As a matter of fact, some cryptocurrencies have gone by the wayside. Why is Bitcoin still the one that institutions are buying? Well, is because Bitcoin solves a real problem. You might have noticed that over time, a lot of new things pop up. What's a common factor in what continues growing compared to the things that just go by the wayside? And that's because new technologies that solve a real problem tend to be adopted because there's a reason why more and more people want it. One of the biggest problems that humankind faces today is preserving the value of money. So you can't get a bigger problem than that, right? So money has two jobs. You're supposed to be able to spend it and save it. And Bitcoin was designed to transfer value from this person to another person safely. And so it helps move money, move value, but Bitcoin was also designed to help people store that value over long periods of time. It doesn't degrade over long periods of time. So it allows people to transfer value almost anywhere in the world without even relying on a traditional bank. But even for the person who will never buy Bitcoin, Bitcoin still provides something even for that person, because Bitcoin is a value system that also is out of the control of governments and countries, so that it is a non-partisan, unbiased way to transfer money. And don't we need that in a world like today? Something that even not just companies but countries can use without favoring a specific country or money, right? So when you start realizing that that is a hole in the global value system that Bitcoin can fill, that is a huge value add to the world. So once you see that, you start realizing, well, then Bitcoin isn't a fad. It can solve a significant problem. And that's why the conversation has changed. Years ago, the conversation might partly have been, well, we don't even know if Bitcoin's going to last. Like it was a fledgling idea, a computer project. Today, the conversation is very different because we now have spot Bitcoin ETFs that are traded in global markets. We have institutional investors buying millions at a time. Bitcoin is held on public and private companies as part of their treasury. And we have governments, several around the world, that are working on legislation, regulations for cryptocurrencies like Bitcoin. Some countries are even building strategic Bitcoin reserves, and the USA is one of them. So yeah, not everyone yet agrees about Bitcoin, but I think it's probably because not everyone understands it yet. However, because of all these developments that are occurring, legislation coming, governments holding, large companies wanting to adopt and accumulate, that proves that Bitcoin is no longer small. It has become too significant to ignore. And so then that brings us to the next question then. If Bitcoin isn't disappearing, is it worth taking another look? Because I think that's exactly what thoughtful investors are doing, not because they're chasing the excitement anymore, because the excitement currently is no longer on Bitcoin. Actually, that makes Bitcoin's story even stronger, that even when the excitement has gone away, significant investors are still interested in Bitcoin and investing. So it's not because of the excitement. As a matter of fact, excitement tends to raise prices, but patience finds value. So if Bitcoin is becoming part of our financial system with a strategic Bitcoin reserve, with it being part of ETFs in our investing markets, and it's able to be traded even amongst local businesses and people. Yet, even with all those developments, fewer everyday investors are even paying attention to Bitcoin right now. Does that open an opportunity for those value-conscious investors who are watching when nobody else is? So this could actually be a better time to start studying it when no one else is talking about it. And that is the question I think it's worth asking at this time, because thoughtful investors aren't chasing headlines anymore. They're trying to recognize value before it becomes obvious again to everyone else who has shiny object syndrome. Now, for sure, I'm not here to tell you what to buy, since I am not a financial advisor. But I am here to help encourage you to understand the opportunities that are right here shaping our financial future before people just decide to dismiss it, before really understanding what's happening behind the scenes. And when you start seeing those, a prudent investor may start seeing some more clues as to whether or not Bitcoin belongs in their portfolio. But of course, that's a personal decision. However, I do believe in it. It's an investment that every thoughtful investor should try to understand before making decisions about it, because a lot has changed over the past several years, and many of the old stories, they may just not be as relevant anymore. Sometimes the best investment decision is not whether you buy or not. Sometimes it's simply being willing to take another look. So what are your thoughts about Bitcoin? I'd love to hear what you're thinking. Let me know if anything I said in this video started changing your thoughts about Bitcoin, or if there is still something that's holding you back from digging into it. Leave me a comment in the chat. And if you would like to know more about my thoughts on Bitcoin or investing, check out these videos up here, and I'll see you in the next video.